Do you know what I'm laughing about is...
What's that? Everything.
Yeah, everything. But also that this quote, you were all like sneaky, like, yeah, I just recently heard this, but you literally, like, your new favorite TV show.
Oh yeah, no,
is
I
comedians in
will
cars getting
explain.
coffee.
I will totally explain where I got that from. I was not. Yeah.
How
no,
else am I going to
it's
get
true.
a clickbaity title if you don't
That's
talk about
right.
Jerry Seinfeld?
We
in
have
there?
to. I totally got it from Jerry
Hilarious.
Seinfeld. I did.
But he says
It's
a lot
true.
of like really clever things about
He does.
performing
Yep.
in that series, and plus
He
it's a
does.
hilarious series.
Yeah.
I kind of want to do that. I want to do.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think what the equivalent would be.
I'm telling you. What's that thing we were talking about? The
No, don't
No.
bring that up. Sorry, that's secret business. That's something I actually want to do.
Oh, never mind. I
But-
brought up the wrong thing.
Yeah, don't bring up that thing. But
That's secret stuff.
no, but it's genius. So comedians in cars getting coffee
Yeah.
is him picking up his favorite comedians or his friends
Yeah.
in a car that he thinks sort of like
Defines
encapsulates their
them.
personality.
Yeah.
And then they have conversations. They go around town. They drink coffee, and he says so many things.
You
on
haven't
that
seen
show.
it? It's good. It's a
Yeah.
good show.
But he
Whether you
said-
like, maybe you like Seinfeld, maybe you don't. But
He says
it's a
so many
good
things
show.
on that show that are applicable
Yep.
to any kind of performance life.
Mm-hmm.
And I appreciate it. So anyway, that's tell him.
He said that was an episode in the new season. He was with Eddie Murphy, and
mean,
they were
that's-
talking about all of the different options that people have now, and it's true. There's so many options that are
For
at our
entertainment.
disposal. Well, entertainment, but also pursuits,
Okay.
things that occupy your time,
Yeah.
occupy your mind, and so people are very and I apply this to myself too. We get very disjointed.
Distracted.
Because we're distracted. There's so many things going on. And Seinfeld said, he said, because there's a lack of focus, there is a lack of greatness. And that's true. Now, I think there are different ways you can apply that. Some people need to focus on one thing, and that's what they pursue, and that's all they can focus on. The multitasking is not their thing.
Yeah.
Other people can multitask and focus, and their focus, they can broaden their focus enough to legitimately focus on everything and build from there.
Yeah.
I actually think that most of the time what happens when it comes to building, people focus on one thing, and as that gets grounded and there's that foundation, then
branch out.
you can branch out, and then you focus on another thing, but you build off that initial thing you focused on, and it grows from there, as opposed to all over here.
I mean, like, if
And-
I were going to talk about that in the context of opera singers, I would say it's like, okay, what's your best chance of reaching the level of the business you want to go,
Yeah.
right? So I know, for example, that I can sing Verdi and Puccini, but right now I'm focusing mostly on German repertoire because that's actually been the concentration of my study the last couple of years.
Yeah.
And I find it the easiest. I don't have to stretch myself the same way
Yep.
to do that, partly because I speak the language better than I speak Italian at this point,
Sure.
although I'm learning.
Yeah.
And so with that kind of focus, you get a payout in the end.
Yes.
And I think we've talked about the whole problem with training insofar as it's good to be able to do lots of different kinds of repertoire, but in the practical real world it seems like it confuses people and they want to be able to define you. And I know that we're in a culture right now that hates being defined, but it's the same way, like if you went to go buy a car, you would want to know certain specifics about it. And when a casting director is casting you, it is about kind of figuring out who you are quickly, because there is such a saturation in the market of singers today
Yeah.
that they need to be able to quickly understand what you're about.
Yeah.
And then once you have your foot in the door, you can say, well, by the way, I also
Branch.
sing XYZ.
Versatile.
I really like singing Wagner, but I also can do other things
Yeah.
in the verismo and things like that. But I'm not focusing on that just yet because I'm still solidifying my place in this one repertoire. Does that make sense?
Yes, very good.
Yeah, and that's been part of your deal, actually, like, because you're so good in everything. You've had great reviews as Lenski, as Tony in West Side Story, in Bel Canto, in Romantic German, in...
Yeah.
So it's been difficult sometimes to
You really have to.
define who you are.
Yeah, and also, but I think for me that's part of the
All done.
growth process. It's part of the developmental process. The voice kind of has to catch up to where it is the meat of the repertoire will be. And sometimes that happens. Not because my voice will be anything, whatever, huge or anything like that. That's not it. But there's a meat of repertoire where it's really specific and you can go, okay, this is who I am, boom.
Yeah.
And I'll still be just as flexible as I've ever been, except that there will be more clarity in a given direction, and it'll be easier to sell. And I think that's been one of the things that I've had to take into account about myself, and being very specific about, I sing this, you know. I mean, yes, I could just say, you know, I just sing Tamino, I just sing Mozart, and maybe I sing like one or two other roles. I guess you can do that, but it always ended up branching out much wider than that for me. That was also something that just kind of happened more than me trying. I mean, it was.
But I think that's unusual. I think often, if we look at the practical sort of arc of a person's career, there's going to be those 5-6 roles that they sing a lot.
Totally.
And I think it's good to focus on those 5-6 roles.
Oh, it's much better.
And even though maybe it's a bit boring, that's why Krauss was so great, because I think he only sang 12 roles or something, right?
Yeah, he sang a lot of roles kind of at the beginning, but then he really said, okay, I just sing this, and he just sang those 10, 12 roles for years.
And I think that's an aspiration for you, isn't it? I mean, that's partly why.
A little bit. I've done
I've
done very little repetition in my entire
Apart from
career.
like Tamino.
I've done Tamino a few times, but really not that many times.
Yeah.
If you think about the length of my career and how, you know. So Tamino, and I did Così several times, but I don't sing that anymore.
Yeah. You've done Abduction several times?
I've done, in
So
Feudal,
a
but I
lot
don't
of
sing
Mozart,
that anymore.
But I wouldn't call you a Mozart singer,
Yeah, I mean,
necessarily.
I guess, yeah. Some people would, some people wouldn't. I don't know.
Yeah.
I actually don't know. I don't know what you would call me. You
Well,
just call me a tenor,
guys,
I guess.
Just
I don't
go
know.
and listen to all of Norman's
Just
recordings and
call me whatever you want.
and just
it's
tell
fine.
us what he is.
So, but no, the reason this really struck me because the focus comment. I mean, back to focusing.
Back to Jerry.
Back to focus. But this really did strike a chord with me because we do live in societally we are very distracted. I
Very
think,
spread out.
if I can say such a thing, we're very spread out.
Yeah.
It's hard for people to focus themselves because also with focus requires discipline.
Yeah.
So if I'm gonna focus myself on something, any given endeavor, I have to discipline myself to say no to something else so that I put the time in on that one thing I'm trying to focus on. And it's not that you have to shut out the rest of your life or anything like that, but you do have to make that time to say, okay, this is what I'm doing, this is what I'm focusing my time on, my energy's on, my mind on, and this is what we're doing.
Yeah, you mean
And,
I don't believe you can have success in anything unless you have specialized knowledge. You really need knowledge in whatever subject you want to excel in, whatever it is.
And now, actually, as far as that goes, we're living in an age where you have the most access to specified knowledge that has ever existed and has ever been available.
Yeah.
So at that point, it's an incredible age
Absolutely.
to be alive in because we have access to really specific knowledge. So you can seek that out, you can pursue that out and learn. The distraction's not there, it's the distraction in the sheer volume of knowledge that's actually there and access, and that gets because there's so many interesting things. There are a lot of interesting things. So, ciao.
This is a small town,
This
so
is a
like
small
you
town, so
inevitably
we see everybody
in the chorus, everybody working in the festival. So, what are some of the ways that you focus? I mean, I have a couple of things that I do, and I find it very difficult because we're changing locations so often.
Yeah.
I find it much easier to focus when I'm just in one spot for a while.
Yes.
So when I know I'm going on a job that's only like a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, it kind of disrupts my focus, if I'm honest.
Yeah.
But I think those of you who follow me on Instagram know my obsession with my notebooks, my very pretty ones. There's something that happens when I have a pen in my hand and I'm with that notebook where I'm able to shut out distraction pretty well. And I get a lot of creative work done that way. Then I take it to the computer and maybe write a post or create a video or do whatever but that connection with something where I actually have to engage actively, pen and paper. That's one of my techniques for getting centered and focused if I want to produce something. And that also applies for me when I'm studying music, that I need to engage actively with it. And even though it's tedious when I'm learning a new role, for example, I love to write out the text. I've talked about this before. Write it out and then start repeating it over and over again. And it's funny because there's this black hole moment where I feel like nothing is sticking, and then 3-4 days later it's like, oh, that text is there. And I think there's something about getting into an active state and writing it and saying it that really helps the mind say, okay, this is the information we're trying to imprint right now. And that's helped me solidify roles. I mean, I've learned roles 10 years ago that I can still recall quickly because of that kind of deep work at the initial stage. So those are like two things that I like to do that will increase my focus and productivity.
That's really good. Absolutely. Well, for me, I mean, the thing about focus is that you need, and this is one of the reasons that when you're traveling, for me it's the same. When you're traveling around, those things get broken.
Yeah.
Because part of focus is habit.
Yes.
It's discipline. It's habit.
Yes.
It's rhythm. And focus is active.
Yes.
Focus is active. It isn't passive.
That's good.
So I can't focus and just, if I'm just sitting here, then it's like I'm on vacation or something.
Well, I think,
And,
okay, interject. Sorry, I'm interrupting
Yeah, go.
you. But
I
was
wrote.
laughing.
That's what I was writing down notes.
Oh, you're
there.
so good.
Yeah, I thought.
Yeah, I mean, I remember one time when we were still living in the States, and I was talking about our itinerary for a given period, and somebody said, "Oh, wow, you're taking a 4-month vacation." I was like, "No."
Yeah. No.
Because I think a lot of times we associate getting on a plane, going somewhere with a suitcase, like that is, you're going somewhere new, exciting, exotic. But at least for us, if we were to let up our focus and our guard every time we go to a new location, we never get anything done, let alone learning music, but anything, practical stuff for life, or with the Living Opera Project, any creative work for other people, like that, none of that would happen.
Yep.
So it's about creating a framework, no matter where you are. I'm sorry, I interrupted.
Yes.
Go ahead.
No, that's fine. No, but that's it. I mean, that you just said it. I mean, you have to. And one of the things, I think it's one of the most important things for an artist. People will talk. Well, if you travel a lot and as an artist, and you're going to a place, you're going to a strange place, you're going to a different culture. One of the important things that you can do is, how do I help myself feel as normal as possible or at home as possible in a strange place? And so people will say, oh, well, and I do this. Bring your own pillow.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's bring certain clothes that you like. Sometimes it's
I'll bring
go for walks.
Yeah, like little knickknacks.
You
from the house.
bring little things that you say, okay, and so part of that is that it can help you focus because there is familiarity there.
Yeah.
And when there's that familiarity, you can say, okay, this is what I'm doing with my time here.
But I mean, that also stands to reason that you have created some sort of a framework in your familiar place.
Yes.
Because if you have just chaos at home, you're going to bring chaos on the road.
That's a very good
too.
point. And that's a very good
we
point.
have that because at home we have sort of a structure, how things work. We get up and we have coffee for like an hour before we even eat breakfast. We study, we do whatever. Then we have our breakfast, then we start the day. And but that 1 hour is sort of like that sacred time where it's focusing and grounding everything. And that's something that we try to take everywhere. That's part of the reason why, actually, one of the things, like when we are booking a hotel or we're booking an Airbnb for a longer period, if I don't see a desk in that environment,
and some light.
Yes, then I know it's going to be a more challenging time for my creativity and for going forward in any of my given projects.
It's true. A light, actually, we were talking about this yesterday.
Our apartment here
Natural
is
light,
dark.
especially natural light, is really important.
Yeah, I've moved the desk. There's a couple desks in this apartment, but I've moved it into the window. Except there's like these blinders there. Cars are constantly coming by, and I see them like totally freak out every time they see a person's like silhouette there because it's not supposed to be there. Yeah,
that's funny.
But actually, I have to say, like, it's not the greatest place for my studying because I can see people going by, and then there's like a billion cars going by in this little town. I don't understand how that's a thing, but it's the place with the most natural light, and so if I don't sit there for a couple hours a day,
you can drive here.
It's so, I know, but it's so funny. Well, because you wouldn't expect it. This seems like it would just be like a pedestrian-only zone, kind of like in Venice. But there's so many cars.
It is.
If I were to place this camera there and just do one of those elapsed time kind of videos,
it's how
you'd
many
see
cars
like 25 cars go by in an hour. Anyway, I hope
It's true.
that, I mean, did we cover this? I don't know.
Almost, yeah.
Oh, okay.
I mean,
go on.
I think, but yeah, we were, but no, with focus, it will be about, so you create the habits.
Yes.
And you have, well, first of all, you have to know what you're focusing
If
on.
I knew how to edit better, that'd be like a ding.
Ding.
But I don't know how to do that, and I'm not
If
going to learn right now.
If you have to learn you have to know what you're focusing on. Okay, so if it's whatever, if it's your job, if it's your creative outlet, whatever. So in our case, it's our job, it's our music. So we focus on that.
Yeah.
Then it's about creating the habits that you do every day. So I'm going to study music every day. I'm going to study like this. I'm going to work on my voice like this. I'm going to give so much time, and it's almost like you would do. You would break down if you go to a 9-to-5 job. Maybe you won't work from 9 to 5, but you'll schedule your day like that.
Yeah.
So this block of time is for this. This block of time is for this. This block of time is for this. And so it's creating those habits and those rhythms. And as you get into that, then you can take that with you as you
Wherever
travel.
you go.
And it will require
good.
discipline. It will require, like I said already, an action. It'll
Yeah.
be
And an intention to actually
intention on
get
your
it
part.
done.
That's
That's
right.
good.
And as you do that, you will see results.
Yeah.
And if you do that with any part of your life, as soon as you do that with any part of your life, you will see results in that part of your life. And
Yeah.
it sometimes, when that happens, you'll see rapid results. Sometimes you'll see slow results that actually will build into a complete shift.
Yeah.
Because
Wow.
you've changed something small. Sometimes when you change when you change just a little thing, it's amazing the effect it can have, and the huge effect that it can have. And maybe you won't see it at the very beginning, but some months down the road, 3 months, 6 months, a year down the road, you look back at that one thing and what it did through the course of your daily life and what it produced, it can be
Yeah.
huge.
Yeah.
And so that's the importance of focus. And that's just a little bit of the importance of focus. So there are many other things, I'm sure, but this is kind of what struck me and I wanted to talk about a little bit today. We wanted to talk about that. So thanks. Hopefully it's helpful. And we will, this is to wrap it up. She's giving me the wrap it up signal. Do you want to wrap it up?
No, you're good.
All right.
You're doing well.
Well.
If you start to do something, I'll do one of these.
Yes, just pat me like
Sometimes do a
that
little-
is that's the non-Southern version of bless your heart.
Yeah.
Let's just pat him. It's all fine. So anyway, we hope you all have a wonderful day, have a wonderful week, and we will talk to you soon. We're doing Ecuba here. The premiere's on the 30th, so we'll be giving you more information about that, and we look forward to seeing you all soon. Have a great day.